Thanks for joining us. I'm Megan Roberts. We begin tonight in Nunavut, where Premier PJ Akiaguk has survived a vote of no confidence, and it was a close call. Nearly half of the members of the legislature voted to boot him out. Now, with just a year left in his term, he says it's an opportunity to make some improvements. TJ Deer has our top story tonight.
This was the moment when the Premier survived.
8 for the motion and 10 against the motion. The motion is defeated.
This comes 2 days after the chair of the Regular Members Caucus said he would introduce a motion to potentially oust PJ Akiaguk as Nunavut Premier. Solomon Maliki said on Monday that the main reason was a lack of transparency, but didn't elaborate further. Immediately after the vote, Akiaguk said he was thankful to be Premier, but he hears the concerns that were brought up.
I really appreciated all the comments that were presented, even for those that supported the motion. It's so important to be told what those issues are. And for us to fix the issues, you first need to know about them.
One of the regular MLAs that voted to keep him as Premier is Adam Ariak-Lightstone. He said although he shares his colleagues' frustrations when ministers don't fully inform people about important things,
the removal of a member of the Executive Council is quite drastic. And it's not something I'm against. I just think it should be used sparingly in situations of last resort.
Cabinet Minister Daniel Kavik laid out the biggest priority now that the vote has happened.
We're going to have to work together right to the end of our term. I don't foresee any impacts, but we will still continue to work together in all areas.
CBC News approached some of the remaining MLAs who voted to oust Akiaguk, but they declined to comment. Paul Kwasa remains the only Nunavut Premier who's been removed from office. The next territorial election will take place on October 27, 2025. TJ Deer, CBC News, Iqaluit.
As you heard there, Akiaguk narrowly escaped the same fate as former Nunavut Premier Paul Kwasa. Kwasa was kicked out of the top job on June 18, 2018. 16 members, including multiple cabinet ministers, voted to remove Kwasa from his post. They said the main concerns they had were management and integrity. That very same day, Kwasa was replaced by Joe Savikata. He'd been in the job for 7 months when he was removed. We have a correction now to our reporting yesterday on the police shooting in Saluit, Nunavik. We cited comments from the police watchdog, the BEI, saying their early investigations suggest the Nunavik police officers received a call about someone driving while impaired. That call was actually about someone attempting to drive while impaired. We regret the error. Staying with that story, calls are growing for more transparency over that fatal police shooting in Saluit. People across the north are continuing to demand answers. Samuel Watt has more.
Moses James Tarkik has known the two brothers shot by police since they were children. He describes them as good people, good hunters, and for the brother who died, a good father to a newborn.
His life was just starting. It should have never ended that way.
Joshua Papigatuk was killed when police opened fire early Monday morning. His brother, Garnet, was seriously injured. Tarkik says he's seen too many friends die in the hands of police in Nunavik, and he wants the facts from this investigation to come out. Between 2000 and 2018, the region had more police-related deaths than any of the territories.
How many more people are we going to lose? How many more people gonna die or get injured?
Demonstrators in Nunavik and Nunavut continuing to demand the facts come out. Susie Hokai organised this rally in Kuujjuaq yesterday.
I think they have a responsibility to be transparent and to talk about these issues. We don't want to be left in the dark. That's why we protested.
Quebec's minister responsible for First Nations and Inuit says he understands their frustrations.
But let's wait for the investigation. Let's see the results of that. This is a very tough moment for the community. This is a very tough moment for the police officers as well.
Katuvik Regional Government has issued a statement as the authority with civilian oversight for the Nunavik Police. It says it's made it clear to all authorities to be as transparent as possible. But Tarkik has a very clear message to them.
We want justice for the twins and justice for Joshua.
Samuel Watt, CBC News, Iqaluit.
The RCMP has closed its investigation into the suspicious death of a Yellowknife teenager. Cody Dempster died 13 and a half years ago. The 16-year-old was found unconscious in an alley in the city's downtown area. An autopsy revealed he died of a drug overdose. RCMP say the drugs that caused his death were administered to him without his knowledge. Police say the Northwest Territories Historical Crime Unit investigated the case. In 2022, during that renewed effort, the lone suspect died. The RCMP say there's no evidence pointing to any other suspects, and it's now closing the case. Police are not identifying the suspect who died because the case will never go to trial. Since January of this year, at least 12 people have died due to substance use in the Yukon. 11 of those deaths involved opioids. That's what the Yukon Coroner's Service reported last month. Their stories are known in the Yukon, and now they've been heard in Ottawa. The House of Commons Standing Committee on Health is examining Canada's opioid epidemic right now, and the executive director of Blood Ties for Directions was invited to speak about how the epidemic is affecting the Yukon. Take a listen.
Before our supervised consumption site opened, I was working when I heard a yell. I ran outside and saw the gray skin of the person my coworkers were helping. Their loved ones had brought them to our back alley instead of calling 911 because they were terrified that the RCMP would respond to the call. Our hands cramped from the cold as we filled naloxone vials and did chest compressions and provided rescue breaths in the snow at -20 degrees in our t-shirts. Thankfully, they survived, but this was a regular occurrence. I've had nightmares about this experience and many similar since. Now that we have a supervised consumption site, this is rare. Overdoses feel more manageable. They're gradual, we catch them early. Yet people continue to die in our communities. Last year, we lost 23 people from our small population. This represents a rate of 50.4 per 100,000, even higher than BC's already devastating 45.5 per 100,000. 1/4 of people in the Yukon are Indigenous, yet account for up to 3/4 of overdose deaths. In the Yukon's close-knit towns and villages, every loss impacts entire communities. Blood Ties offers programs to meet a range of needs, including youth education, harm reduction, drug checking, supervised consumption, housing and wellness supports across the spectrum of substance use. We operate one of the only inhalation rooms in the country, which has seen more than 25,000 visits this year alone. As the Yukon's only harm reduction organization, we are constantly stretched thin. It's not sustainable. High living costs, housing shortages, and an emotionally taxing workload make it difficult to recruit and retain staff. We are under-resourced with short-term funding that doesn't allow for long-term planning. But what really wears us down is the politicization and misinformation heaped on our efforts. In this context, we know what won't work. We can't police our way out of this. Criminalization only drives more harm.
Alhus told the committee that Yukoners living with addiction need care that involves both harm reduction and recovery, and that the community needs long-term investments to tackle the problem. The Yukon declared a territorial substance use health emergency in January of 2022. Many business owners in the Northwest Territories say increased power rates will be passed down onto customers. The Northwest Territories Power Corporation applied last week for an overall increase of 25% in rates, citing low water levels and increasing diesel prices. The CBC's Luke Carroll has the story.
It's a huge hike, and it just seems like these hikes never end.
Adrian Bell is president of the Yellowknife Chamber of Commerce.
So I've had a lot of business owners reach out to me and just ask, what can be done? Will there ever be a future where we see some decreases in these rates, or is the expectation simply that businesses pass this on forever to consumers?
He's not the only one with that question. Joshua Earls runs Rampart Rentals in Norman Wells. It's one of 2 grocery stores in town. He says one of its biggest expenses is power to operate the refrigerator and freezers.
At that point, a lot of our cooler items and freezer items are going to get impacted by that, as we're going to have to raise costs just to help cover these power costs, you know. And I mean, let alone all the lights and everything else that we have.
Earls says with the community already dealing with skyrocketing fuel costs, the affordability situation in Norman Wells is getting scary. The Public Utilities Board is responsible for making a decision on whether the power rate hike will go ahead. They're expected to release this decision by the end of the calendar year. Luke Carroll, CBC News, Yellowknife.
The NWT is making changes to the way the territory's power corporation is governed. The move comes as NWT residents face another potential rate increase, as you just heard. And some experts say a new structure could help. Natalie Pressman explains.
NTPC's board of directors are all deputy ministers or assistant deputy ministers. They're not energy experts, and they're already pretty busy running their departments. According to Yellowknife MLA Shauna Morgan, that holds back innovation.
The concern is that by having the board be deputy ministers, it would just be a vehicle of sort of maintaining status quo and stability, you know, that they would be the safety net to catch any, you know, wild or crazy thing the power corporation tried to do, but otherwise that they're sort of a caretaker board that's just there to maintain status quo and just carry on. But the problem is that the status quo is sending us on a downward spiral.
The government is planning to recruit new board members. At least 4 will be independent, and it could be as many as 8. 2 seats will continue to be for government officials, and one expert says that combines expertise with government know-how.
A hybrid model has the best of both worlds because independent directors can bring, you know, expertise that might be needed. They can bring a fresh set of eyes. They are independent of the organization, of management. And deputy ministers bring that sort of inner working and perspective of the sole shareholder and of the government.
But another expert says total independence is best, and that government officials face conflicts of interest.
Does that board member act in the interest of government because that's kind of their day job, that's who pays them? Or do they act in the interest of the corporation because that's what the law, corporate law, requires them to do?
Both experts agree a new board could help shake up the Power Corp.
If you want an overhaul and a new direction for any corporation, putting in place some new board members, some fresh blood is a good idea because it's the board's responsibility to approve the strategic direction of the organization. And so, I would say that's a positive direction to go in if that's what you're looking to happen.
The territorial government plans to share an expression of interest in early 2025 for the new positions. The minister says they're still in the process of outlining what they're looking for in new board members. That includes ensuring representation from different areas of the territory and maintaining expertise in energy policy. Natalie Pressman, CBC News, Yellowknife.
Donations to the War Amps have a lasting impact on amputees. Today, your support gives them the artificial limbs and resources they need for everyday activities and learning to live with amputation. Having access to our essential programs helps amputees prepare for tomorrow on their road to independence. The War Amps is committed to improving the quality of life for Canadian amputees, but this wouldn't be possible without you. To learn how your donation helps, visit waramps.ca.
This is a proposed corridor for multiple pipeline projects.
You're crossing our territory on 2 ends of your pipeline. Who gave you permission?
Pipelines break of the pipelines would destroy the water and everything in it.
They got to come through us first.
This is an immediate evacuation order for all Coastal GasLink employees. I feel like we are at war. It's just all been building up to this point.
Yenta on The Passionate Eye. Watch free on CBC Gem.
Release him.
Why?
Well, I would say it's extremely bad form to arrest your new boss.
This man is actually in my custody.
What did he do?
Well,
Did you hear that? I'm being charged with,
This ranch isn't going down. Not on my watch.
If the car comes with the deal, I'm in.
Cheers, dragons!
I look forward to fighting you on many a deal.
And we look forward to beating you.
Dragon's Den. Watch free on CBC Gem.
The question is,
and I'm just going to ask,
I want to ask you, but
why is this such a big deal? What does the science say?
what was their reaction?
what are we talking about here?
Who told you?
So, to be clear, what is the actual story there?
I think we can explain.
Donald Trump has made a stunning comeback, reclaiming the U.S. presidency after a 4-year absence. His party also won back the Senate and may yet take the House. Susan Ormiston is in Michigan, where Republicans say the results show that the Democratic leadership is out of touch with Americans.
Cheers and tears for Trump's historic comeback. Michigan Republicans celebrating into the early hours. Jason Bright has followed Trump for 9 years.
He's the only one. He did it once, and he'll do it again. And we have that faith, you know. And that's what we've been keeping the faith, you know. And it's just nice to see this right now.
look what happened. Is this crazy?
Trump inspired them to vote to take back a country they believe is falling into decline and has moved too far to the left. Michigan, split in a rural-urban divide, echoed in many parts of the country.
Democrats don't care about middle America. They are the party of the coast, and this Republican Party is painting Michigan red tonight because they actually care about people in the middle part of the country.
By putting Americans' prosperity back rightfully where it belongs in our own country.
Trump's message, dark and foreboding for many, was dismissed by his supporters.
Oh my gosh, I was giddy. You couldn't believe it. I had people texting me at 3 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning.
Jim Vaca's convinced Trump can supercharge the economy at home and solve foreign wars.
The first thing that I hope he does is go in there and let's get this war in Ukraine and Russia stopped. Let's get the war in Israel and Gaza stopped. I'm a veteran myself. There's nothing good that comes out of war.
In the end, Donald Trump was able to capture a variety of constituencies, including Latinos.
When Trump was in office, we had the best border security ever in the history of this nation. It wasn't perfect, but it was the best one. And under Biden and Kamala, we had the worst one ever in history.
Donald Trump gave a nod last night to a promise to unite this country, but after one of the nastiest elections in recent history and fears of a grievance campaign once he's in office, America remains deeply divided. Susan Ormiston, CBC News, near Detroit, Michigan.
A Trump presidency presents a new set of challenges for the Trudeau government and Canadian-American relations. The CBC's Rafi Boudjikanian reports on the view from Ottawa the day after the election.
Almost overnight, the main question on this government's agenda, what now? The Prime Minister's words to the returning President Trump, essentially, welcome back.
I look forward to working with President Trump once again to strengthen North American economic opportunities for the middle class.
But different views on the economy may become one of the bigger hurdles between the two leaders to overcome. Trump has promised to impose a global 10% tariff on all imported goods, including Canada's.
We have been very, very conscientious, very systematic about maintaining our relationship.
Another Trump promise Canada is keeping an eye on.
And on day one, I will launch the largest deportation program of criminals.
That kind of talk has the government here on guard, insisting there is a plan to protect the Canadian border, though details are slim.
Having an open trading relationship, but a strengthened border is an important part of the context in which Canada and the United States can succeed.
The party in power is not the only one watching the change in government south of the border. In a tweet, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre congratulated Trump too, stating in part, "The U.S. is Canada's best friend and biggest trading partner, and I will work with the president to benefit both countries." He also used the opportunity to attack the Prime Minister.
What President Trump must not understand, must actually find kind of humorous, is that while he wants to take jobs from other countries and give them to Americans, he sees here in Canada a Prime Minister that wants to help him do it. Yeah. Let's review the track record. He brought in a massive tax on energy.
Here we see the Conservative leader cherry-picking his numbers.
With the countdown on for Canadians heading to the polls no later than next October, which party here benefits from Trump's return to the White House is an open question. Sources tell CBC News Trudeau and his Liberal caucus spent their entire meeting today speaking about the U.S. election results. But the Prime Ministers had to wait to speak with Trump himself, who addressed other world leaders such as India's Narendra Modi and China's Xi Jinping first. Rafi Bujikani on CBC News, Ottawa.
New mental health toolkits are being sent to schools in Nunavut. The kits include affirmation flashcards, breathing exercises, and yoga poses. They're supposed to help students with things like stress resilience and emotional regulation. The kits were created in partnership with the government of Nunavut and Transformative Life Skills in Nunavut, an organization that works to promote mental health.
As we know, in Nunavut, we have high rates of suicide, so we believe we need to get at the youth, at the young people, to give them the skills, to be better individuals that are content with their lives.
A total of 95 kits are being sent to 28 schools in Nunavut this month. The kits will go to 19 different communities in the territory. Inuit parents across Canada who are registered with the Kitikmeot Inuit Association can now receive a package for their baby. The Kitikmeot Association designed the Welcome Baby Kits for every child that was born in 2024. The new program aims to support early childhood development. Each box contains books, toys, and a country food kit. The association says new initiatives like this have been slow to roll out over the last couple of years.
Coming out of COVID was a little bit slow in getting some of these new initiatives started. So, it takes time to build capacity on your staff. It takes time to get buy-in from communities where the municipalities are already overwhelmed. So we're working on getting into communities and starting to consult with them and figure out a strategy that works.
KIA says that early learning and play are important in preparing children for success, and it's hoping eligible Inuit parents will take advantage of the program.
This is one way that we want to get educational resources into the homes. Some people take their children to daycares. People that aren't working may not get that opportunity, and their children may not have opportunity to take part in some of the formal programs. So we're looking at different options and ways that we can try and reach more children and more families.
KIA hopes the pilot project will become a permanent program. Yukoners were invited today to have their say when it comes to the future of Chisan Chua, or McIntyre Creek. An open house was held at the Quanlin Dunn Centre. Officials with the Yukon government, City of Whitehorse, and Parks Canada were there, and they were joined by representatives from the Quanlin Dunn First Nation and the Ta'ang Quatchon Council. Together, the 5 governments have formed a steering committee that works to protect the area. Take a look.
What we're doing at this stage in the process is we're engaging with the community to try to figure out what is going to be the tool to protect that area, and also we want to know what would be the actual boundary of that area moving forward.
I've lived here for a long time, since 1980, and I'm fortunate to live here because been able to use many of the areas included in this McIntyre Creek complex. And I think it's a really important process. I'm really happy to see it begin. I think it's good that all the governments are involved, that They're engaging the public, and I hope that a lot more people participate.
Well, I've lived here for 50 years, and I love the Yukon, and I want to see the parks used. I hike every day. I cross-country ski. I want to make sure it's there for my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren.
Archaeological evidence shows the McIntyre Creek area has been used by First Nations for at least 8,000 years. Today, the area is a highly valued wildlife and recreational corridor that runs through Whitehorse. Information collected will be used by the steering committee to provide recommendations to the 5 governments. Now let's take a look at the weather. And that is Northbeat for tonight. For news anytime, go to cbc.ca/north. Thank you for watching. I'm Megan Roberts. Have a good night.
Which insects are serially monogamous? I'm just curious. Can love help us live longer?
I feel alive!
Does heartbreak make music better? I love this music. Could AI compose the next masterpiece of our time?
Robot composers conducting robot music.
Do you really need to wait 30 minutes after eating before swimming? And why is something as big as time kept in something as small as a watch?
Oh, that's heavy.
When you get curious, you get CBC.
Oh, wait, are we allowed to touch, like, device? Oh, no, it's fine, yeah.
In Australia, a unique experiment
How come you guys don't have a table? We do have a table.
is about to unfold. A school swap that brings together 12 students from very different cultures and religions.
You do what you want to do, it's fine, I'll do me.
My fear is, instead of building bridges, they'll end up blowing them.
I want to be seen as me and not my hijab, not scary terrorists or something like that.
They're making more money than they have ever made in the history of the music business.
We have generation after generation of us not seeing a fair piece of the pie.
How do we keep the money from Black music in Black people's hands?
You're going to be introduced to a new world. Stand back.
I think my dislike is warranted.
What was Amy calling it? The beef wars?
You don't tell me anything. You don't share your feelings, open up about your past.
It's not that simple, Amy.
They reported a shipment of cocaine stolen 2 weeks ago.
We all have our vices, Detective.
Oh, you find that surprising?
Dust, noise, and lowlifes.
Bloody hell.
They reported a shipment of cocaine stolen 2 weeks ago.
We all have our vices, Detective.
Oh, you find that surprising?